Why is it important for men to feel excellence?
Okay, thank you. There's something about being a man, like a human man in this dimension, which requires your living your experience through physicality. Like physicality is how you experience life. So you can argue, therefore, that sports and physical fitness is more important to men than to women who are experiencing life a different way. So if you're experiencing excellence through sports, for example, your body cannot get in the way of your experiencing, let's say, God. So if you're not in shape and you haven't worked out in the way that your sport needs you to, then your body will get in the way. There's an awkwardness of the form not fitting. Like God cannot infuse you and allow you to do what is necessary because you're deficient in some kind of way. So this is really interesting that physical fitness seems to be really, really important for men in order to experience excellence as men. It's a kind of understanding your own God self, you could say, through allowing yourself to be overtaken by the very long moment of being in what some people call flow state, but it's kind of like being there. It's being one with the universe. It's being like filled with um, a lack of separation between you and everything that's happening because you yourself as a man, you are in form. You know, this is not the real you. This is a form that you're taking in this lifetime. The football pitch, for example, that's a form, right? There's a certain size and shape to it. It's a form. That's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, that doesn't have to be what we call a football pitch, but we have decided that in this lifetime. And that those dimensions can even change over time, right? In 1,000 years, the football pitch can be different. So there's nothing inherently football pitchy about what we think of a football pitch. In many ways, there's nothing inherently you about what you're experiencing right now. This is a very momentary, very brief experience you're having of pretending to be you. So your consciousness is way, way, way bigger than your physical form. But since you're doing this right now, you as a man, you're on the football pitch. The football pitch is exactly what it is right now. There's a sense of the dropping of any kind of separation between you and the football pitch because what's happening is just like perfect. It's like music. It's a perfection of being. And the form, including your own body, just like the football pitch being exactly what it is, gives it form. Your own body helps you experience this being and it is an ecstatic experience. It is so beyond you. I think I don't want to consider it addictive because that is lower than that, but it's something you want to go towards again and again and again and again. And it takes a lot of discipline and effort to go there because if you're lazy, you don't work out this week, right? The following week, you play football. It's not as easy to experience or achieve excellence. I would go one step further and say you want to have excellent men around you, especially if, let's say, you're playing football. If you're not playing football with excellent men, can you achieve excellence? Right? It's going to be much harder. So you want to have excellent men around you who, in one part, one aspect of this is having the kind of physical fitness necessary for God to infuse you and use your body in the appropriate way. Do you have any response
Is it possible for a man to always be in this flow state?
in this flow state? That's a yes or no question. Could you please ask a different question?
How does a man always stay in this flow state?
I would wonder if being in this flow state at all times is even necessary. Could you please ask how often is good for a man to experience this? I don't like the term flow state. It's a commonly received idea. It's
Hmm.
like God infusing your body. So it's like, how often should a man want God to infuse his body? You know, that's an easier question for me to see.
Yeah. Could you say that again, please?
How often should a man want God to infuse his body?
How often should a man want God to infuse his body?
Okay. You could argue that it's always there in the background, even if you're like, you hate yourself, you hate your body, you're slovenly, you're really out of shape. You're like a couch potato extraordinaire, and all you do is fill your brain with stupid TV. Even in that moment, God is still there. You know, God is in your body. It's just a matter of how much you want to go there yourself with your own mind versus run away from that as much as possible. You can't run away from your own body. And yet, very interestingly so, almost everyone does, right? Like they overeat or they undereat. They have extremely weird, restrictive eating patterns, or they overconsume things that they shouldn't. And it's not always food. They overconsume media, sometimes they overconsume a vibration or frequency from someone that they have in their life. So people try to remove themselves from their bodies left and right. And you can think of it also as losing presence. You can think of it also as being against the present moment. But in many ways, it's like, how much do you love or hate your own body? How much do you embrace your body's experience or not? And so God is present no matter what, even if you're watching like the telly, you know? However, it's like, where do you want to put your mind? Where do you want to place the mind? So on the football pitch, something that's really interesting about this, the makeup of what it is a lot of it is wordless. Sometimes you speak, you know, you talk to your teammates and stuff like this, or you shout at them and say, hey, you know, I'm here. But otherwise, it's a really, really reduced aspect of life. It's sort of like chess, but with your body, right? Like chess is also like a type of a sport. It's obviously not like it's more of a mental thing. It's reduced down to the mental more than the physical. But all these things where there's opponents, there are sides, there are rules, there are restrictions to what you're supposed to or not supposed to do is reducing life in some kind of way, as if you were hunting in the past, right? And right now, in your day-to-day life, are you still hunting? And you can argue, yes, it looks very, very different. Maybe you have an office job. Uh, Maybe it has to do with you and your own self. Like, are you the master of your own self? And that is the way in which you can, in quotation marks, be hunting, right? And if you want to go really deep into it, there's like psychic attack, there's entities, there are other ways in which you have opponents. So where do you place your mind? So on the football pitch, you can be almost mindless because you're not talking. And you've agreed to participate in a very boundaried situation where you don't have to have a computer, you don't have to be using your mind. You're encouraged to purely be in your body, right? And you're kind of encouraged to be your animal self. So especially for a man, this is a very easy place or space in which to just feel God being in your body. Whereas if you're crossing the street and you're looking both ways, you might need to calculate a little bit more and be like, oh, that's unsafe. Let me just, you know, not take a step right now. So there are times in which you don't necessarily want to be so purely in that ecstatic place because it requires you to do more. Like if you're doing an Excel spreadsheet, you can argue that you can have God in your body even when you're doing that. Oftentimes when people play the piano or something like this, God is in their body, right? So it's just like, are you in a situation where it's safe to not think? Are you in a situation where you should not be thinking? Those are times when it's easier for God to like fully infuse you, right? Sometimes when people are performing, like even they're performing in a play, they're talking words, but really are they there? You know, are they channeling? So it's like that. And if you are listening to your girlfriend talk about her day and you're holding space for her, is God in your body? Yes. And how much can you enjoy holding space for her? How much can you enjoy being that masculine presence for her? So it's a different level because your mind may or may not be more there are different places to place your mind, like you know, radio frequencies. So I hope that answered your question because I'm just going to end things here. Thanks. Bye.